Hello, small friends of social media. This is my video vlog. I don't do much video vlog because I feel really shy in front of the camera, and I solely judge myself with my speech. As you guys can tell, I have a speech impairment problem, but I try my best to talk slow and clearly. So I've been picking up my camera again. So I haven't picked it up for a while, since 2017. I took a little photo class at Southern Maine Community College with a photographer, Thurston, who taught at Maine College of Art as well. So I decided just to take the course because it was my last elective, and I was like, oh, why not just take a photography and be like, well, I already know what I'm doing, which the teacher didn't think I didn't know what I was doing. But when he saw my picture, he's like, okay, you can really take photographs. So I kind of blew everyone in that class, like, oh my god, she can take pictures, while the rest of the other people are trying to ask me how do you get these images going up to strangers and getting their pictures. And it's just the key is to, one, get out of your comfort box, to approach to them. For me, I can tell who to approach and who's not willing, and learning that the fact there's gonna be a lot of no's. I got a lot of no's for taking pictures, so I may just get one picture or two or three of that. So you never know what's gonna happen. So some days you may not go out and photograph and just want to observe what's around you. And then I kind of use the frame thing with my hands, where you put your two hands up and then use it like a square box. You could cut out a cardboard box and make it into a square frame and just use that and just take pictures in your head. So that helps you develop this frame of what you're framing and what you're seeing in there while you're photographing. So I've been drawing a lot too, but I realized I haven't I haven't really picked up my cameras. And so I asked my mom to mail my Canon cameras, and I didn't think about this in my early age in photography, how annoying the shutter is to people. It's literally, so this is my Canon camera, and of course the Boston Red Sox, and if people don't like this sound at all, I mean, this getting right up into your face is like, hey, I'm gonna take a picture, boom. And it's it's this bulky camera, you put it up in your eye and you click. It's people don't want that in their face. So I definitely learned that in the early age. Well, I didn't learn that in early, what I'm trying to say, that I didn't think about that in my early age in photography, like that click, 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 click. And it's annoying. It's you're trying to you see an image on the street, and then that shutter click, and then people are like, you took a picture of me, how dare you? So I definitely learned how to say, hey, I'm an artist, I take photographs because it's a fine art thing for me. So photography is art for me. It's not about just getting really good images and getting for a living, but for me it's a therapy thing. So drawing, painting, cycling, and photography are my therapy way of just keeping myself not going crazy. So I go out and take pictures of what I see and what I capture, and then I just use it hey, it's art. Yeah, I'm not sitting out there with an art easel and my paint and my pencil and water and drawing the street of people walking. Photography is like that in a way. You are out there photographing, but without carrying your art easel, your paintbrush, your waters, and your all that other stuff that painters do. What I see, they were to go out and paint the city. Well, I go out and take pictures of the city of Portland. So it's a little bit different. I feel like it is a lot more challenging because with painting, people see you painting and like, oh, that's really pretty, that's really cool. Don't feel as intimidated when they see this camera right up there, like, oh my god, like. Then I tell people, like, sometimes, there's hidden cameras all over the city, and your picture is pretty much with the CIA anyways. But anyway, so I learned that what I need is a quiet camera. And I know really good artists, like street photographers, and when they have all those fancy Leicas, which is my dream camera, but I want to get like a one fixed camera. But I went out and got a used Sony full frame XR1 camera. It's a 35 millimeter, and it's pretty much really quiet. So when I hit the shutter, it doesn't make that click sound. And also, it's not as intimidating. You're just walking with a camera. It's a small, compact camera. Nothing too big, nothing it's just quiet. And it's not, it made a huge difference. I felt like I was able to go up to people easier and to say, hey, this is who I am. And the first thing they don't really see is the camera. They see my face and not see this big, bulky camera around me. So that makes a big difference. But also, the compact camera has taught me to slow down a bit, to really think about what I'm photographing when I see that. And then before I pick up the camera, I actually sometimes tell people, I use my hand structure, and I see this image and this frame, and I see the lighting on you, and I see this composed on your face, and the hat that you're wearing, and the jacket. I can see that you have this emotion, and so I get them thinking about it, and I say, you guys seem really photogenic, and I can. So then they let me take maybe 2 or 3 shots of each person. So that is also it's pretty cool to see them okay, yeah, cool, you can take my picture. Just approaching to them really friendly, and if they say no, I just say thank you and bring a smile. I also sometimes when I take the pictures, depending on the person, I would do I take a few frames, and it's okay, yeah, I can buy you coffee. So I sometimes buy coffee for people for taking their pictures. So it's dependent, not every single person I buy coffee. It's depending which group it is. So I buy, coffee once in a while for some. And some people don't ask for coffee. They're just yeah, cool, take my picture, and then I just move on. So that is my way of how I photograph. Now, a lot of photographers say get out of your comfort zone, which obviously I have been out of my comfort zone because I flew to Asia. Luckily that I had someone who paid my trip to Asia, and I thank them very much, but I don't talk to them anymore. But that really changed my life, how I see things differently. And I'm adopted, so I got to go back to Cambodia, to my homeland, not speaking any of the language Khmer, and learning the culture and seeing a lot of poverty and Phnom Penh. My adopted mom went to Cambodia to get my sister and I. We're not biological sisters, but she would say there was no street lamps at that time, because in that early time, 1990, there was still some fighting in Cambodia during the Khmer Rouge, and I think when I went back, my generation didn't really feel it, but I can see the image of the elder people, like they had that hidden past that they don't really talk about. And I went and visited the killing field. That was really emotional and powerful. There was a lot of emotion that I felt. Like I had this vivid dream when I still remember this dream. I don't know why it haunts me, but I had this dream where I was crying and I was this little baby and I was hidden underneath the rice field was like straws over me, and I don't know, and someone found me, and that kind of still sticks with me. But the photographing in Asia definitely helped me like realize, okay, this is why my adopted mom adopted me, to give me opportunity to live my life in America, pursue my dreams, and make a future for me. But when I look back now with COVID-19 and seeing so much homeless people, and then the Portland protests, that the homeless and the people who volunteer to help the homeless people with this protest, like their voice haven't been heard really, and they had that 2-week protest, and then the city decided to just say, you know what, you gotta end this now, your right to protest is over. And it's like, I think some people believe it's a broken system, and some people feel it's not a broken system, obviously, in the wealthiest country in the world. And the question is, why can we not help our people? And I understand that people have a debate on, well, they're lazy, it's their fault for being drug addicts. The main thing is that it's mental health. And I personally feel like this country, America, doesn't really fully talk about mental health, what leads to that person to be on the streets. Some parents, some families don't want them back. So that's the key to that question. Like, oh, just send them back to where they come from. And it's like, no, these families don't want them back for a reason. I photographed this person down on City Hall that Friday, the last day, and when they were tearing down the tent city at City Hall. And I can tell this guy had a lot of mental health, and my eyes saw it, and I framed it. In my head, I was like, oh my God, I have to take this picture because this guy literally was like just in pain, or just didn't know how to communicate, but you can see it in his face, in his body, and how he was grasping his hand. And then you have the other person on the side who's in the image. So it's like, I can't describe it. It's in one of my images that I shared. But to see that, like, this is mental health. Like, you can, this guy clearly needs help, and he has nowhere to go. And our system is completely broken. And this shows exactly what the image is showing. It's like, what do we do? And there's not enough social work. So hopefully, a lot of people say, oh, I want to go into social work because I want to help the homeless. And it's like, okay, well, we can do our part, but most of it is like the state has to approve all this, and including the government, the U.S. government too. Like, how do we get programs? But a lot of people say majority of the United States wants to spend their money on the military. So that too. And another key thing is equality. So I took the sociology class, and I think using photography and sociology and equality in America, like, I know like this wealthy person is like who said, I mean, she's not like so wealthy, but enough to think like, well, it's their fault for not working. It's like, really? It's like, it's their fault for not saving money? It's their fault for like not saving up money? It's their fault for being in poverty? It's like, you're born in poverty. It's hard to get out of poverty. There's absolutely like true fact of that. I mean, for me, it's like, I was born in poverty in Cambodia, and God, I don't know how. I mean, like, some people believe in God, but it's like, okay, God said, like, you're gonna get adopted, and you're gonna come to America, and you're gonna, like, have a better life instead of being on the streets in Phnom Penh, like the rest of the kids swarming at you for food, money. And I was like, when I was in Asia, I was like, you know what? I'm going back to the United States, having all this food, and I just said to myself, why should I eat? I'm gonna have enough food to eat in America. So I always just gave my food to the people and the kids in Cambodia. So that also made me like think about the system here in this country. But I think with photography, I mean, a lot of people tell a story, and I think personally, I just do it for, like, for me, it's like a tool just to think to think about what I take and look back at my life. So that for me, like, when I take a photograph to remind me where I came from, and that I need to appreciate more in life than just being like, oh, you know, my mental health is, I had this really horrible event in my past. Oh, you know, it's just like really like, okay, you had this event that happened in your life. Now I can move forward and continue on with my education and help others instead of being like stuck into this one thinking of like, poor me. So I use the camera to help me deal with whatever that's around me. So, and also with art, I have been doing some artwork. I haven't really like did much, but I was working on one of them. Like, I haven't even picked this up. This is my drawing that I did, but I gotta paint it. But it's like the underground and fire and flame. It's just that emotion of feeling trapped and trying to get out. I use a lot of mixed media. So that's my art. Also, like, journaling. Besides like taking pictures, journaling is the most important. You can glue pictures that you take into your journal. I think journaling is the most important thing you can also do as an artist or a photographer, because you can have all these little notes on the side and see all the progress you have done over the years. So that is really useful, because a lot of artists definitely keep their journal. I mean, my old journals I threw out because I was just so angry, whatever it was I was drawing, and I kind of regret it, but maybe it was a good thing because I'm not there anymore, and it's good. I think like for me, I also was the photography I got into because the Salt documentary is now with Mecca, and so I got introduced to more of the photography field of documentary when these two students from Salt, one was the photographer, Holly Wellmuth, and I can't remember the artist, the writer. So seeing her photographs and seeing her way, how she was working through the camera, that was really fascinating with what she was doing. And it's like, oh, I could really photograph my family, just seeing the whole international 9 adopted kids coming to the United States, and it's like a roller coaster ride living in an adopted household. And plus my adopted mom, she had her 3 biological kids, and it's really interesting to see that part too, because sometimes I felt like I felt like I was taking a lot of their part of their mother part, like I took that away from them, but I shouldn't. I mean, it's kind of weird, like I'm being really honest with that, but I'm really grateful because my older sister, I look up to her a lot because she's this amazing. She's an artist too, so she can draw. She's a mathematician and a drawer, so she's really good at it. So I look up to her, and she's definitely there. And my other brother, William, well, and my sister Laura, they're most amazing people too. William's very a thinker. He's like I can call him a writer. He has this image that I see of him, this picture frame that I see in my head. He's like a thinker. So maybe one day I see him again, I'd take a picture. But if you were gonna do a painting of him, you would see a lot of his brain thinking. But he's going through a lot right now. He got into Georgetown Law School, but again, people don't want to talk about mental health. He has some mental health that he needs to deal with, and the rest of my other brothers too. I mean, this is a thing that we had to do on our own in order to recover and survive. Mental health was a thing that our adoptive mom didn't do so well, but our adoptive mom did provide our medical needs and feed us, but mental health was not talked about. Like my brother, who is from Ethiopia, he's blind, and he was 5 years old, and he was abducted from his village in Ethiopia, and the gang blinded him, and when in Addis Ababa, I can't pronounce it, but in Ethiopia, those years of him really young, had to beg on the streets. He would hide on the buses, and his trauma is so heavy that he still hasn't dealt with his trauma. And for his trauma, he's not able to go out in the community independent, but he has strength. He can clean so well, fold and crisp his clothes so perfectly. I'm not kidding, like super perfect. So with my camera and picking up the After the Salt documentary lab, I said, you know what, I'm gonna photograph my family. So I took so much photos over the years, and it's just photos I want to put together and share maybe in the near future. So hopefully maybe one day while I do my social work degree and also taking street photography, but that all the images I have taken are something that I want to put into a book and share to the world, and this is what it's like to be adopted into this international family of 9 children who got adopted. And most of them are disabled, autism, blindness. I was like 9 years old. I was responsible to take care of them, to make sure that they were fed and make sure they were safe. And when I got my license, I was still helping my mom out. I went to Boston for 2 years after high school, and I took my photography class. I thought I was gonna get into photography, but somehow that gut feeling, they're like, no, I need to help out my adopted mom. So I dropped my photography dream and went back to the middle of nowhere. It's called Surrey, Maine, and the most part I really like about Surrey, Maine is the fact we live near the ocean, a mile down, and you can see Acadia Mountain. It's gorgeous. Cadillac Mountain, sorry. So it's like you can see Acadia National Park across the ocean and Cadillac Mountain. So it's really a gorgeous small little town. Yes, there's people there who like to every town has their own gossip, but anyways, it's besides that, it's so zen, and there's a little Zendo Buddhist little Zen called the Zendo, and Surrey is such a hippie place. You go down there oh yeah, this is pretty cool, and then you get oh yeah, it's just it's a hippie town. Blue Hill is a little bit hippie. Ellsworth is a little bit conservative, but a lot of Maine artists have come to Maine and done painting, writing. We got Stephen King. We have a really small art museum and farm. We got in Rockland, Oh my god, it's stuck in my head. Well, the art museum in Rockland is really nice, but it's like little parts of Maine that's part of, like, I haven't, so that photography has ended to that point where I was like, gotta help out my mom. So I helped transition my sister to the program, and while I was doing that, I was taking pictures of my life in Surrey at a young age, 20, whatever, and just really putting my life on hold. And then I moved to Portland thinking like, oh, I'm going to Maine College of Art. So I went to Maine College of Art, and then stuff happened down the road. I had a breakdown, and then I had to deal with my mental health. And then I finally dealt with my mental health, like, this is what I need to do. Photography was not going to go the way it was going to go. My dream in photography was coming to a chapter of, it's like, okay, Marty, I need to think what's practical. I say maybe 1% of people would become a well-known photographer like Annie Leibovitz to pursue their dreams, or some type of National Geographic photographer traveling around the world and photographing, or being a photographer for the royal family, which I would love to do that, to be a photographer, and that'd be like so cool. But I don't want to be that kind of photographer who chase celebrities and then end up killing them. So yeah, thank God William Harriman flew a lot from Diana. But I think now when I pick up my camera, it's not about pursuing and becoming a successful photographer. For me, it's just picking up the camera, waking up every day and saying that I am grateful to go out and take an image and photograph that, and connecting with the people who I'm photographing and saying thank you, and saying, like, putting a smile on their face. And just really, like, with my pictures, it shows that each person that I photograph has a story to share. And these are people who are struggling every day, and I know when I take their picture, they're out there still just struggling. And while I get to go back to my apartment and go to my job, I have a safe place to go. And these people who I photograph are letting me enter their world in a different way for short seconds. These are like short seconds when I take their pictures. And when I take their pictures, I'm thinking that, maybe one day my images of Portland, of the people of Portland, that maybe I will just put together and then submit it to a gallery. Like, at this time, it'd be like my whole series, like, this is a difficult time for everyone, definitely in Portland and all around the United States, where it's politics and hate and just confused, and it seems like everyone these days are just really, really are struggling, and we have lost our way of being human. Like, how do we treat each other, and how do we able to talk to each other and treat them without judging them for who they are. Like, if you go on the street and you look around and then you judge them because they smell, or because they're homeless, like, we don't know their story, we can't judge them for them that quickly. We need to, like, really understand, like, okay, this person has a lot of sadness, and the only way we can know that if we approach them to a really friendly way, and then they open their door to you and you respect that. And it's like, that's pretty much what I do. I like to hear other people's stories, and it kind of relates to me because I can, like, relate to a little bit of, like, what it's like to feel sad to feel like there's nowhere to go. And like, if I was in Cambodia and I had this nightmare, oh my gosh. So when I told my older sister about this dream, so my adopted mom passed it away, and my older sister lost her citizenship, and we all got deported back to our country. And I like go back there again, but this time I couldn't come back because I didn't have any proof I was a U.S. citizen, and that scared the crap out of me. Like, Mom, I gotta get copies of our citizenship so I don't get back to like to my home country. It's like, oh my god. So I was just like, that's something that normally people don't freak out about, but it's kind of like that. But yeah, that's my story right now, guys. But what I do is just pretty much draw, take pictures, and become very, and you know, yeah. All right.